Good evening. I'd like to call to order this workshop for the Borough of Gettysburg Borough Council for Monday, February 23rd, 2026. An executive session was conducted by the Borough Council of the Borough of Gettysburg immediately following the adjournment of its monthly business meeting held on February 9th, 2026, consistent with Section 708A1 and Section 708A5 of the Sunshine Act. An executive session of the Borough Council will be conducted immediately following the adjournment of this evening's monthly work session meeting, consistent with Section 708A1 and Section 708A5 of the Sunshine Act for the following purposes. 1, to provide updated information and discuss matters involving the employment or appointment of current or prospective borough employees, and 2, to review and discuss matters of borough business which, if conducted in public, could lead to the disclosure of information or confidentiality protected by law. Good evening. We don't have any special presentations this night, so we'll move directly to public comment. Is there any public comment this evening? All right, I don't see any, so we'll move on. We have a short agenda this evening. It's sort of the John Whitmore show here today, but we'll take a brief sojourn over to the manager's office. So we'll start our new business tonight with a discussion and update on the Gettysburg Station project development. Mr. Whitmore.
Good evening. Thank you for the introduction. This is a pretty quick update. Generally, this project, we've been experiencing some ebbs and flows with it. We received initial plans last year, 2025, in April. So we're rapidly approaching the one-year anniversary of initial plan submittal. We have received updates to those plans. The developer is working with quite a few different agencies, including PennDOT, as it relates to a traffic impact study. And then they're also going to be submitting plans to Soil and Conservation District regarding their erosion sediment control plans and NPDES permitting. Basically requirements, given the size of the land associated with that development, they have to go through additional hoops related to how the site will be maintained from an ecological perspective. All of that takes time. All of it's going to push out this review with the Planning Commission well into this year. In particular, the traffic impact study, there was a deficiency identified in the most recent revised counts. So they're going to have to be going back out into the field to be able to update those counts. We, as staff, receive a number of inquiries from the public for a lot of this documentation, and while this may not be the most compelling answer to give someone, it's in process. They're going through the process of having their engineers and architects actually develop the plan. The finalization of that plan, like I said, should be this year. We're hopeful that we'll be able to continue receiving, welcoming news regarding the traffic impact study. There is a concern. I mean, we do have to be able to develop within the Borough of Gettysburg, and limitations associated with state highways and state transportation in general can cause not only delays, but also limit the ability for the borough to optimize its land. So overall, it's in process. We're going to be having a very substantial dialogue with the developer at the March Planning Commission meeting, and that's March 16th, 2026. We do ask, when it comes to technical questions, to provide those to us prior to the meeting so that we can ensure that the correct professionals on the development team are able to address those concerns. That's something we want to make sure that, we're providing that opportunity for the public to review the plans, but also provide ample opportunity for the developer to set the record straight if it requires complex analysis on specific topics. Traffic itself can be a very challenging thing to think about, so being able to have a professional explain how decisions were made, how the outcomes are planned, will be beneficial for this process. So that's all that I have at this time.
Okay. So we're expecting the next update from the developer this coming month?
So we will be, after that March 16th meeting, we will be having additional sets of plans, most likely coming in middle of spring, if not until the summer months of 2026. the traffic impact study, that we'll have a better understanding of what that means for the entire development, looking at that in April.
Mr. Claybaugh had updated us 2 weeks ago that there were issues around their stormwater management. Are those being addressed by the developer currently?
That's a conversation we're going to initialize. There are quite a few things that can be achieved with this development. It's just getting to that yes. So one of the things as it relates to stormwater is that it's a very, very complex system. It's something that what they're trying to achieve with this system may be better handled and more optimized on the land if they use different types of impoundment, being able to manage when you control rainwater, you're literally, it's thinking of it kind of like a film that's going to fall down. Where do you put that material is what we're looking at, and what they've proposed would be something of a challenge as it relates to maintenance and upkeep in the years going forward. So we want to make sure that the borough is protected in regards to financial future liabilities for maintaining infrastructure that's going to be in the public domain.
All right, any questions about that report from anybody on council? Okay. We look forward to hearing more as that continues to develop. Mr. Gable, the waste hauler contract.
Yes, as we all know, our current waste hauler contract with Waste Management does expire on March 31st of this year. With that being known, we recently went out to bid for a new contract. We briefly spoke about what you wanted included in that contract, and so I definitely put that into the bid documents. And so just to review for the public's benefit, the waste hauler requirements of the bidders was that each residential domicile in the municipality would receive weekly refuse and single source recycling services. So that is included in here. And then there's a whole litany of that includes also two annual e-recycle events. So you'll see that also listed here under municipal services. So in addition to everyone receiving at their residence recycling and refuse removal, the municipality will receive the following through this contract. Large special events, the roll-off dumpsters for the New Year's Eve celebration, Memorial Day Parade, Remembrance Day Parade, Halloween Parade, Gay Pride Festival, Salsa on the Square, and the Christmas Festival. And you can see the size containers that we're requesting for each of those. So that would come at no additional charge to the municipality. Municipal services here in this building at 59 East High Street, twice weekly. That would happen either on Monday or Thursday or Friday. The Thursday or Friday is up to the hauler. That includes recycling services here at the municipal building. Soon, by the end of this year, we will be adding a municipal asset in the Gettysburg Welcome Center. So this contract envisions similar services to this building to also take place at the Visitors Center, or the Welcome Center rather, at 340 Baltimore Street. Includes waste removal and recycling services at the Public Works Building at 457 East Middle Street. It includes waste and refuse and recycling services at the Recreation Park over on Long Lane. Also, removal of waste and recycling at the garage at Racehorse Alley. And all street cans, both just refuse and recycling cans. And there's a list of about 120 of those that was on an attachment to this. We removed the Big Belly as a mandate in this contract only, and the reason I did that was it's listed as an optional service, and two of the three bidders, we'll talk about that in a minute, do provide Big Belly services. There was, and I'm not sure if the contract is still exclusive to Waste Management or not, but there had been a time years ago where Waste Management had an exclusive contract with Big Belly. In other words, Waste Management was the only waste hauler that could provide Big Belly service. So in an effort to try to make sure that we get the broadest possible number of bidders providing services, we removed that as a mandate in this contract.
Just, can you define Big Belly for
I'm
people
sorry,
at home and for new
those are the
members?
trash compactors. There's 2 on the square, and I believe there's 1 on Steinmore Avenue where they open up in the front and usually flash in red, which probably means they're close to being full.
Yeah, you'll see these units in front of Kadori and in front of Plowman. They look like a bank of trash cans, but they actively compact the trash so we can get more refuse into a smaller area. They've been very successful for us over the last decade.
Yeah. So we did have 3, and this was posted on PennBid, so everyone that has access to a PennBid account could look at this and provide a bid. Ultimately, we had 3 bidders, Casella Waste Management out of York, Waste Management, and Waste Connections. And these bids were unsealed Friday afternoon of last week. No, this week. Yeah, this past Friday. And these are the results. So the price per month, so 12 months. So Casella came in at $78.93 per month, which would be annual of $947 per domicile. Waste Management came in at $34.65 per month, which would annualize to $415.80 per year. And the winner is Waste Connections, who came in at $31 per month, or annualized at $372 even, for all the services we just outlined. Looking at their other documents, they provided bid bond and required information that comes along with the bid. That has all been completed. And so it would be staff's recommendation that Waste Connections be awarded the waste hauler contract for the Borough of Gettysburg.
All right, so members may recall that Waste Connections was our hauler up till about 4 years ago. Is that right? 4?
Correct.
When Waste Management did have the lowest bid, when we went out to contract, we are compelled to take the lowest bidder, provided that that bidder is responsive and responsible. And Mr. Eastman has tried in vain to educate us all to what responsive means. I think it would be advisable that we take this lowest bid. First, I don't think we could demonstrate that Waste Connections was not responsive or responsible. And secondly, when they were our hauler, we had an excellent relationship and an excellent customer experience with them. We were somewhat sad to see their service go. So. Any questions or thoughts on that?
What does that equate to per year?
The 31 comes out to $372 a year.
And 72, and the contract was written so that each residence would be billed quarterly, just like we currently have.
Thank you.
And is it my understanding that that is inclusive of the receptacles?
Yes, thank you. I forgot to mention that. So this contract also envisions that what the successful bidder or vendor would provide both refuse and recycling bins. So no more renting them or purchasing them at Walmart is required. They will be providing them to each customer.
All right. Any questions or concerns?
Does the commercial residents, they don't have to change? This is just for the...
This is just for residential services. All the haulers did attend the pre-bid mandatory meeting, so they're all aware of our desire to potentially move in a different direction, and that conversation can be had once we get this contract in place with commercial and or hazardous waste.
How does the $31 per unit compare to our last contract?
Very
So,
comparable.
yeah, service right now is like 74.90 per
Yeah.
quarter. So that's within,
May even be a little lower,
no, it's a little higher.
a little higher.
That's to be expected with fuel costs and vehicle maintenance costs, I think, though. So that does represent probably a $15 a quarter increase.
And they can do the big belly things too?
Yes.
So this contract's expiring fast. We'll be having them soon. And I remember last time there was a little bit of confusion with the receptacles, but we don't anticipate that. We'll have our receptacles on time and
We will definitely have with the council's blessing here tonight, I'll begin the process of setting up that pre-contract meeting and go through all those particulars with them and make sure we have as seamless transfer as possible.
Yeah, Waste Management will have to provide the current subscriber list to Waste Connections so that Waste Connection has the sort of baseline for how many receptacles they need to be able to provide and on what time frame. The last time we did this was a fairly painful transition, so it will take some management and massage to make sure that we get to where we need to be in a month's time.
I don't remember if there's anything that we own that is Waste Management's. Are they going to try to collect anything from us?
So it had been our experience that, if I remember correctly, when we had the transition 4 years ago, on the last run, Waste Connections was collecting the bins that they had issued.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that was part of the confusion with the transfer. Suddenly it's trash day and some houses didn't have cans to put their trash in.
Yeah.
So that was part of the thought to make sure that we mandate that with this contract.
Yep. All right. Any other questions? Anybody have?
Just
Please.
to make sure, I mean, I'm sure you're thinking about this because the last one was painful, but just to make sure that doesn't, if Waste Management collects things and we don't get our other bins for another week, then we won't have something
Right.
for a week.
Well, we're going to
yeah,
talk about
great.
that in
Thanks.
the pre-contract meeting.
Perfect. This looks great. Thank you for this work.
Quick question about the biannual e-cycling. Would that be something that staff would still be managing, or would this be completely sort of contained within Waste Connections?
Yeah, historically, we've kind of worked with the hauler to man it, both with our staff and theirs. We need to work through that. We're not quite sure what that looks like
Yeah.
yet.
There is a benefit to having our staff do it, which is that we are confirming individual appointment times throughout the day, and we're able to then make sure that only borough residents are dropping off materials. If it were not managed the way we do, it'd be sort of, if it was just drive up and dump
Right.
off your stuff,
Yeah.
then we'd be seeing people from outside of our service area.
Thank you.
And you said that, yes, they are going to be providing the dumpsters and the cardboard boxes for special events.
Yes.
Great.
Is that
It
new?
actually increased the events. If you notice, like Salsa on the Square used to not be on the list, or Pride used to not be on the list. It is now.
Thank you.
And they're providing that as our vendor. That is not an additional cost.
Yeah, that's at no additional cost to the municipality.
Yeah.
So, we're all paying for it, right? I mean, they did the math and they put that in their $31 a month proposal.
All right. Any other concerns? Everybody okay moving forward with the lowest responsive responsible bidder?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. That concludes new business. We'll go to current and old business, and we will return to Mr. Whitmore's desk with the discussion of the saldo adoption.
Okay, I have a very quick slide deck presentation, PowerPoint, whatever it's called nowadays. A saldo. What is a saldo? Subdivision is a process. Took it from the olden times. If you want to say, English common law provides that real property generally have a thing called a chain of title. You have to be able to show claim to what you own. Subdivision ordinance is an outgrowth from that. In terms of the boroughs, it provides municipal review of subdivision and land infrastructure development. It establishes specific design requirements. It also provides for the just general infrastructure design. And when we're talking about a subdivision plat or something like that, we're talking about this physical paper document. It can be anywhere. This one's 9 pages. Some of them go up to about 200 pages. It can vary in complexity depending on the scope and scale. Some of them just may be 1 page. If you say you have a larger piece of land and you want to give some to either a family member or sell it, you would just do a minor subdivision. That 1 parcel becomes 2 parcels, or up to 4. Once we hit a certain number and certain requirements happen that equate to what's called a major subdivision. This is all provided for in the municipality's planning code. It's general practice. Like I said, it's been going on for hundreds of years. As it relates to land development, this is the more modern take. When you start thinking about those roads, sidewalks, parks, the infrastructure and things that the borough doesn't actually make, but that the borough has to maintain, and creating a system by which those improvements are created correctly as opposed to cheaply and in a state that's going to fail, and B, providing that method for security. That can include things like bonding and financial instruments like letters of credit to make sure someone's actually paying to have things done. Currently, the subdivision land development ordinance was completed in the late 90s. There are multiple inefficiencies because it's just not a more modern ordinance. It doesn't even envision online permitting. It doesn't envision a PDF. We don't have things that will make best practices for in 2026 for stormwater management, floodplain management. We don't incorporate contemporary lighting design standards. There's also some other issues as it relates to the actual financial securities. So a good example is our landscaping component of the ordinance. The borough itself does regulate landscaping. It's a very excessive amount of landscaping, and what we're finding is that it produces outcomes where the plantings will die. Well, if there's no method for anyone to replace the plantings, are those plants actually going to be replaced? And even if they are replaced, what happens in another 3 years when they die again because the design was bad? We're cognizant of these challenges. Planning staff initially brought this to council's attention. I'm sure everyone was here in 2012, but that's what it initially came up for. Maybe we need to start looking at revisions. Over time, initial revisions were made with the borough engineer, planning staff. Those took a back seat, though, to the comprehensive plan, and then most recently the zoning ordinance. When you think of a comprehensive plan, it guides future development. The zoning ordinance says what can happen where. Subdivision land development establishes what it is that's going where or there, so to speak. What we're proposing is that as this is a relatively technical document, that most of the draft work be completed in-house by staff. It'd be myself working with the borough engineer, Mr. Eastman, on some of the technical legal aspects, especially as it relates to changes that we're going to be proposing for those financialization aspects. Additionally, there's been some unique things that we've been looking at when we went through the zoning ordinance process, especially related to impact fees. And then there are some components of the zoning ordinance that while they currently exist in the zoning ordinance, they actually are more fitting for a subdivision land development ordinance. So we have a listing for streets that are going to have improvements related to lighting and streetscape enhancements. Those are things that it's not so much that what's happening there is going to affect those to be built. It's whenever someone builds that lighting, builds a house or builds a structure, that's when it's time to make the area compliant. With that then, as a proposed timeline, looking to have at least an initial draft in early summer, looking for June 22nd, or June 15th for a planning commission review, but then Borough Council workshop presentation June 22nd. Idea would be that planning commission would get a first crack at the initial review. As it works right now, subdivision and land development processes are reviewed by the planning commission. In terms of the ordinance itself, it's not a planning commission domain ordinance. Planning commission, the way that they were originated in the United States, if you want to regulate land, if you want to have zoning, you have to have a comprehensive plan. Your planning commission is supposed to create the comprehensive plan and administer your zoning ordinance. As it relates to subdivision and land development, it can go a number of different ways. In Pennsylvania, though, we're allowed to have planning commission review the subdivisions or allow for council to review the subdivisions. Depending on which way you go, if an applicant seeks a variance or change from what's proposed, there's slightly different processes depending on who's reviewing the actual subdivision. But that's something that will be reviewed and acted upon accordingly with this ordinance. We just want to make sure we're providing an avenue for technical review to occur, for best practices to be established, but then also for development to actually occur. Some of these challenges with the existing ordinance, I hold up this page, this document. I mean, this costs a lot of money to make physical paper that no one's going to read and will eventually be setting up in a box in my room waiting to be destroyed. We can have the electronic review of these plans, the technical review occurring over a PDF at a fraction of the cost. That's the sort of thing, if you think about development as like almost a snowball going down a mountain, if you want it to really get larger and keep going, you can't provide a lot of friction up front. It's got to be able to move. And that's one of those things from a development perspective, if we're able to at least enable the opportunity for people to develop more housing, more commercial opportunities, they may do it. So with this, we would have a timeline, planning commission completion of review occurring roughly August 17th, and then Borough Council really finalizing any modifications that are beneficial to the review, are beneficial to the ordinance, and then have the process going through an ordinance update as standard. There is no unique requirements like the zoning ordinance. This is just a traditional ordinance for all intents and purposes. So that's all I have on it. I know Mr. Eastman is probably enthusiastic about changes on this, but it's something where we will be having to engage with our technical staff. So there's always the potential for additional delay, cognizant review that could be challenging.
All right, so I will tell you all with some degree of confidence, and maybe Chris can back me up on this, that the day I started 6 years ago, the saldo was on the tabled items on our agenda and has sat there ever since. Does that sound right?
It was on there 6 years before you started.
Yeah. So our staff has been patient, but also eager to see us take this on. Chad Claybaugh did make an impassioned plea for us to think about doing this year. And with the zoning behind us, it makes sense for us to take this on this year. Does anybody have an objection to the staff's proposal to tackle this in-house and then go through the process as he laid it out for us? Everybody cool with that? All right, any questions for Mr. Whitmore on the saldo? All right, that couldn't have gone better. Cats!
I do not believe that the representative for Ever Love Rescue is here this evening. I'd recommend staff can reach out to them and see if we can get written comments. Otherwise, we look at this in March.
Great. So that is the end of our agenda for the evening. That takes us back to our public comment. This section is not restricted to items on the agenda. Now, this is the second meeting in a row. I've noticed we've had a scout in the room, presumably learning about the civic process. So since I don't see anybody for the public comment, do you have any questions that we can answer for you? No, okay. Pretty exciting stuff we do here, huh? All right. Is there any public comment? All right, seeing none, we will adjourn to executive session. Thank you, everybody.